Good morning, everyone. This is Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. We're calling the meeting to order at 9 a.m. All right, so the first thing is good morning. Approval of minutes for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Yeah.
Jan Siebert Warman, PO Box 778 Piano Beach. I just wanted to ask a question. Last month, I had a number of questions, and the one that I still don't quite understand, and I don't know if you can answer this today, but I hope so. There's a portion of the pipe, this is to do with the water resiliency project. The piping, if I'm understanding it correctly, most of the piping is going to be not that deep, not much different than what it is now. But this one part of the piping going it's a steep slope part of the piping would be much deeper. And I'm wondering if there were some sort of seismic event or there was any kind of a break in the pipe, even without a seismic event. If the piping is so deep, how would it be fixed in a timely manner? Because it might be more difficult to get to that deeper portion of the piping.
Where are we talking
Thank
about,
you.
Jan?
We're talking about where the new water resilience project
right.
is. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we don't have any utility relief requests this morning, so we're moving on right on to Public Works status, please.
Okay. No change in the First Street project since last month. I reached out to Garrett and Shannon, and Garrett's on vacation until next week. So I'll touch base with him again, see if there's any change. Water resiliency phase 1, as you know, is in progress of construction. The initial piping and everything has been put in. The next phase of that phase 1 is the seismic valves themselves, and they're supposed to arrive in September. So that'll be the next round of activity in that. And as you know, phase 2 and 3 are delayed construction until we get the easement condemnation process complete. But the engineers are still continuing to work on their designs and whatnot. The phase 2 is about 85% complete, and they don't want to finish it till we know we got the easement, because it would cause them to have to redesign a bunch of stuff. So we're all as far as we can go until we know we get the easement. As far as phase 2 engineering and design, and then on phase 3 they're about 35% complete. So they're just beginning that phase of the engineering, design engineering. We're going to start paving on Monday. So there's going to be notices posted, and we'll put something on Facebook. But it looks like Monday, West Jefferson, from Hemlock West, East Monroe and East Harrison will be done. And then Tuesday, the following day, Siusla from Hemlock West and Pacific. And Pacific is just a short little area that needs to be overlaid that hasn't been done. The rest is fairly new. And so that'll be in the notice. And so if you hear anything about that, they're starting to put signs up for 4th of July. They're the smaller two-sided signs. One side says no fireworks, and the other says, please help us keep Cannon Beach clean, or something like that about pick up your trash. And I think that's about it as far as the latest. Trevor, anything
Center Street beach access that has been demolished, and we're in the process of pouring concrete and getting the galvanized steps installed. Once that's done, that access will be opened back up. Okay.
Beautiful. On those signs, Karen, a limited number were available over the past couple of years or so. Are they available now to general public?
They are.
Answer that.
They mentioned it in coffee with the counselor yesterday. Lynn said, reach out to her, email, text her.
So, yeah, you can just text her or let me know and then we can get you some signs. She has probably right now, they order 100. So there is probably 90 left right now.
And they're free and,
Free this year.
and in your yard, you know, the ordinance states that you can have X number of private signage like that. So make sure you just take what's appropriate for your private property. And then we have a list of areas that is in the city property that we're allowing them, like certain beach accesses and the RV park and things like that. So
Okay.
they'll be well covered. This year, I think they're free. She mentioned previous years, the small group that chartered this was trying to pay for it themselves. The PD took that over and so they'll be handed out free.
And there's a blood drive at the community church today and we have signs there. So if anybody wants to stop by and pick them up. You are.
Thank you.
Don't forget the event for UPS Dave is this weekend, this Saturday. Concert in the park 4 to 6 and then dinner immediately following at the American Legion. That's it from us.
Can we answer Jan's question right now, or is that something that?
Well, two things I'd like to know is where, I mean, we published the map of where we're doing this work, so I'd like to know where specifically in the pipe run you're talking about, and then it would better enable us to answer that based on the depth. And then we can do a meeting with yourself and whoever's asking you that question, and we'll have Mike Benefield update and respond to that. He's our project manager engineer.
Okay, and so to find that place, I think Mike Benefield might be the one to identify, because I thought he was speaking about it in the meeting, or maybe it was after the meeting when we spoke. Or it might have been Travis that mentioned it, but there was one part that was, it was a very steep slope and I wouldn't be able to find it on any map.
Okay.
It would be them that would have to know what they were talking
I
about.
thought you had said you received some questions.
No, I gave.
You were asking based on Mike's update?
Questions last.
Okay,
Yeah, that was done.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so this is, they would know where the steepest part is and
Gotcha.
know where it's gonna be deeper, because there's.
So your basic question is any pipe that is deeper than our typical depth?
Yeah.
How would we get to that when it's,
That's.
if it fails?
Yeah.
And you know that the HDPE pipe, it's highly unlikely that that would fail. If it did, it would be at joint points, which are at the outside shallower ends of anywhere where it's depth. It does have some flex to it. But when we're doing a stick of pipe that is lengthy and is as deep as that is, we don't put joints in those points where it would be vulnerable to a break. You can always abandon a pipe in ground and lay a new stick if that's needed. So I'll talk to Mike and have him give us an official answer as the engineer project manager, but that's typically how that's handled. But we'll get a follow-up response for you.
Thank you.
Okay?
I'll just add one comment to that, and that is sometimes with the topography and where the pipe lays, it's almost impossible to put it any other place than maybe buried deeper or something,
Yes.
because if there were a better route, they would have taken it.
Exactly.
To save trees, which of course.
I was gonna say, remember, our goal here is to keep the trees in mind based on the area where we are. It's heavily wooded.
Right, so I'm just trying to understand, because.
Yep.
We do need the water, like.
Absolutely.
So how does that all balance out? But
Right.
I definitely am in favor of saving trees.
Yeah,
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
it's a balance.
It's a balance.
That balance. Karen, anything else on?
I think that's it. You guys have any questions? Anything I've overlooked that you guys want an update on?
I do have one question, just looking at the minutes last week. It looks like that for the First Street Bridge, tsunami impact was not taken into consideration for the rebuild.
And I had the same concern.
Yeah, I think this is all about seismic, hardening of the infrastructure. There was never been discussion about, retrofitting or preparing that bridge for a tsunami impact. I think the tidal influence, just where it's located, I think the seismic retrofitting would probably be able to address some of that. But if we were to get the big wave, I don't think there's anything we could do for that bridge, or a new one for that matter, that would take a tidal wave.
Well,
But for now, this
Yeah.
initial approach of what we've done has always been about seismic.
remember, one of the things she said is we're assuming a distant earthquake. That's
Yes,
what she said.
yes.
So if you're assuming a distant earthquake, as opposed to, I don't know where the subduction zone is, but I don't think it's distant. Then, and that's the basis of your seismic work, and then you're not considering the effect of you can call it a tsunami, or you can call it a aftershock.
Yeah. Tidal.
What are we accomplishing?
Well, it's a good question, and I think if you also listen to the update that Rick gave to council, where he had the gal come from the Dagami folks and the FEMA folks that did all the maps and made the adjustments to the flood areas and whatnot. They both said that the goal here is not to prepare necessarily for that big tidal wave, that you're getting folks on the high ground. They're not going to be down low where they'd be evacuating at the bridge. The bridge is going to be for when we have forewarning, distant, like you say, and it's an evacuation point. If it's something more significant than that, people aren't going to be down at this level, hopefully.
I'm talking more about preservation of the infrastructure and the bridge long term. If you're going
Understand.
to invest funds into it, and it can be hardened against waves, storm surge that comes with earthquakes.
Yeah.
I'm puzzled why we don't address that. I'd have to go back and do the research about the Alaska earthquake, and it was 64 or whatever, didn't it? Went up Ecola Creek, caused all sorts of damage, and now would be the time that'd be a distant
Correct.
earthquake. I don't know why now wouldn't be the time to see if there's an option. I don't know whether it's raising the bridge or hardening the bridge against storm surge, because that's what normally is going to take out the bridge.
Yeah. I think in several of the forums, it's been said several times that I don't think from a hardening perspective, any of us are preparing for the 9-pointer. I think we're preparing for something less than that. Bruce has said it. Our folks from the county have said it. Our folks from the state have said it. So I think it's that you're preparing from some lower level of that, and to give us the highest rate of survivability as far as the infrastructure itself and the ability for us to evacuate to wherever that should be when that incident occurs. So I can't say that the goal here has ever been to, because at that rate, I think there's no doubt we could stop our investigating on seismic retrofitting right now and say, we're got to build a new bridge, because there's no way that bridge is going to survive something in that level of a catastrophe. But it certainly has a chance of surviving something lower than that, depending what the experts come and tell us. But
So the focus now is on retrofitting as opposed to
definitely,
altering and rebuilding.
definitely.
And in a retrofit scenario, seismic would be the focus, and wave surge would likely entail something beyond retrofitting. Did I say that right?
That from when we talked to the folks at Civil West and the folks at FEMA that initially were in the meetings, there is some tidal influence that bridge can withstand at the level of hardening that we're looking at. But no one has ever said that it could tolerate a tidal impact, right? Waves. But there's surges that come through that creek. We've seen it even in the milder levels at king tides. So you can imagine what it would be if we had a distant quake. So again, I'm not a geo expert, so I'm going by what this team has advised us, but I think that there's a possibility that can be hardened as it stands today, retrofitted. But if the experts come back and say it's going to be at the very lowest level of your earthquake capability, and then they would probably recommend that the bridge be rebuilt.
And in that case, if the recommendation was the bridge be rebuilt, wouldn't it be appropriate at least then to look at?
And that's a good question. And that's one I think the council would also have to be engaged in is, are we,
Yeah.
if we're building the bridge, rebuilding it,
Yeah.
are we trying to rebuild it at the 9-point level, the Cascadia level, or still something sub to that? And so that will be a discussion because the cost factor obviously is going to be in play. So. Okay.
Yeah, we just are, at least from my point of view, I just want to be efficient with the funds we're using, make sure that we.
Absolutely.
look at everything. Also in that same vein, are we looking at East Second as a egress and egress, and
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Are we what?
looking at East Second Street past the recycle center, for emergency egress and egress?
Part of the trail system, yeah.
So that'd be part of our evacuation trail system as it is today, right? Are you talking about making improvements to that? or-
No, I'm talking about, is it in the emergency plan to, you know, like lift that gate and allow people access to 101 through East Second if that bridge was impacted, or even if it wasn't impacted, there was so much traffic on it trying to cross and get up to 101 from the northern side of Cannon Beach. Just wondered, that hasn't been talked about to my knowledge.
You know, that's a good question. It is my understanding up to this point that that would be an exit point that could be utilized. I don't know if there's anything beyond that that has been talked about. I don't know if Rick had anything planned, because that's a question I would typically ask Rick.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yes, and that is part of the emergency preparedness plan. So that's why it's important that people have your know your neighbor events. That
Right.
people ask, you know, those, attend some of those meetings.
Right.
Because without people not attending those meetings, we can't respond to that.
Right.
That will be opened, but it will be opened by fire or PD.
Right.
So they will make that decision if, if it's necessary or not. So it will be, but there's a lot of those questions that we have about emergency. I really encourage people to call and
Attend, yeah.
and attend a know your neighbor meeting, because, we will be spinning our heads and we will spinning around if people just, don't listen and say, hey, I want to have a neighborhood meeting. I
Right.
want to know what's going on. And that's the time for people to ask questions to police department, to the emergency department, to, fire department. It's a great opportunity. But yes, that gate will eventually be open if it's necessary.
Okay.
But we will explain more if it's necessary and what to do. So, yeah.
Anything else? On projects? We're done with the budget. Council should be adopting it, I think, at this month's
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
And so the July 1 budget will be coming our way soon. We're wrapping up this year's budget and the guys are finishing up everything they possibly can with what we've got left on the table.
Assuming the council adopts the budget, what's your overall feeling on what you can do with it?
I'm very grateful for what the council and budget committee has given us. They've always been very supportive of our projects. We go prepared to pitch our cause for what our desire is that we want to do, and the information that supports it so that it gives them the best opportunity to say yes or no. It's been a long time since they've said no about something, which I deeply appreciate from a public works perspective, as does my team. But I'm very, very happy with what we have on the table. We've discussed the projects that are before us for next year. Our plates are full. We keep them pretty darn full with everything we have going on. It'd be great if we weren't delayed with the water resiliency, because we would have been far deep into our phase 2 by now. But that's not the case. So we have to keep that in mind as we ask for additional funds for new projects, because we could only do so much. But I do feel good about the budget that we have, very good about it.
And Karen, I always appreciate the way you present the, the budget and how you present it to the budget committee, because the fact that this is the reason why they approve it, because you
Thank you.
have all your ducks in a row, and I really appreciate that, so.
Thank you.
for doing that.
I know that yesterday in coffee with the counselor, they talked a little bit about the TSP that's been kind of stalled, but there was one item on there in particular that they were considering extrapolating that from the TSP and maybe moving forward with it. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to encourage them to bring things back that concern our community streets and signage and things like that to the Public Works Committee. I feel like that's the forum that should really weigh in on some of those things that are in that transportation plan before going forward with it. So I may recruit you guys' input and involvement in that, depending on what they break loose from that.
On that note, we'll
Yes.
be moving, since, yes, that's part of our purview. So that's one of the things that I just wanted to make sure. I want to thank you guys for thinking about recycling. It's very, very important, but this is probably not part of our committee's purview. That really belongs in parks. And so I'm grateful for what you guys have done. But we will be sending that information to parks, and I'm hoping that they will ask questions and ask, probably Steve is the one that gave us a majority of the information to do a presentation to them. But I again thank you for that. But again, it doesn't belong into Public Works. We are more of the big picture, the pipes, everything else.
Are you saying the recycling center isn't responsible?
Again, the recycling center is a place where people recycle. It's
Yeah.
not, so we're not recycling it ourselves. So this is,
Isn't a Public Works employee that is there?
yeah, but that's the big picture. If recycling center breaks down, we're gonna take it up, right? We're gonna fix it.
Yeah.
We're not collecting recyclables. So parks is their purview. I have spoken to them also, and they, it's a hard thing to deal with. But that's not part of our purview. So we are moving that right along to them.
Okay,
Anybody else can join the parks committee too, so.
well, I mean, that's not the point. I get the impression when I go to the recycling center, this is a Public Works facility. It's manned by Public Works people. How do
We're
we,
talking-
how do we leap from there to saying it's a parks
But we're
project?
talking garbage cans, we're adding things
Oh, okay.
outside, so that's not, so if we're talking about that recycling center.
Yeah,
Okay, that's part of Public Works.
okay, that's all.
But yeah, if you're adding garbage cans, that's not part.
Okay,
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, I just.
Our Public Works Committee is always focused primarily on infrastructure, our streets, capital projects we're doing, master plan projects we're doing. That's always been the focus with the Public Works Committee. And FYI, just on that, Recycle came and did the annual update for the council at last week's meeting. And they talked about compost. I asked them to update council on the state's initiative towards plastics. Because Recology is being mandated about some things that the city is assisting them with. So we're working on a team perspective relative to plastics. There's federal funding that's available for recycle drop-off centers that have the capability to expand and maybe take in styrofoam and different types of recycling that was never able to be dropped off before. Unfortunately, we're landlocked. So we're looking at other ways, maybe changing out the type of containers that we have and things like that. We don't have a lot of options where we are just because we're landlocked, and to expand, it would take parking away in that gravel parking lot. But we're seeing what options that we have, some sort of container change that maybe is a dual type container. But all the containers we have are pretty full on a regular basis. So to take one away and replace it with something else, Andrew and Kirk has given us a lot of input relative to that. So we do have to be careful what kind of changes we make out there, because it's pretty much a well-oiled machine. As much as we wish that we could add to that, we just don't have anywhere to expand. And as you know, in town, there's not a lot of options where we could possibly do another one or put other containers. That's always been a challenge. So like, Janae says, the idea you guys came up with is a good one, but it really does belong in parks because it's gonna consider our community and changes to that. So probably be parks and DRB, if any level of that were to move forward.
The other thing, the email that you sent out about the washer.
Yes.
Can you
Yep.
just give us a little bit of, you know?
Yep, so the update that I gave you in last month's meeting, the plastics committee that is run, being head up by the three universities I mentioned, we're working together. They're gonna have a table at the farmer's market, not this week, but next week. And they're going to be organizing, handing out the filters here in the council chambers. I've reserved this room for them, so it's close to the farmer's market. But they need to get people signed up in advance. And that's the flyer that I sent out to you guys. It had a link on there. You can just go online and sign up. And then when you show up to get your filter, they're going to be handing them out to everybody at the same time, coordinating instructions on installation and things like that. And how they'll come and collect that debris from the filter. So all that's going to be handled next week at the farmer's market and then here in the council. So if you haven't signed up, sign up. Daryl gave me a list of folks that do not have ion water. So I put some flyers in the mailboxes. Some of them are off of our committees. So if you guys don't have ion water, you might want to get signed up. Daryl's coming for you.
Almost 50%, like, we just need a few more to get to 50%.
He needs 8 more to hit his 50%, and he's been working hard.
People and saying, hey, are you aware of, you know, that's something that we can do. Are you aware of ion?
You do your, get to know your neighbor,
Yeah, well, we. do
recruit
mention
your
it.
folks to
Yes.
get signed up.
We do mention it. Maybe we should bring like a little brochure or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, so that's.
It's
a good idea.
free, with the, I made a little flyer saying, we're coming for you. Come sign up and the instructions. And also said Daryl's always available to help, as is our public works staff. And so he's working hard to hit that 50 and get above it if he can.
It's such a great tool, especially for second homeowners.
And it's free.
I just can't, I'm having a hard time. I mean, it's so handy and all self-protective. It's the technology that's holding people up.
I mean, it's
I don't-
very user friendly. I tell people, if I can do it, they can do it. You know, I don't have a lot of patience for those type of things.
It's
So,
good to be true, you know, and when
Yeah.
Right.
it's good to be true. They think
Yeah.
it's some gimmick or something.
I mean, I know there's a few people that do not have cell phones, you know, there's some people, I mean, we have,
Yeah.
like, you know, so.
but everybody, I won't say everybody, most people have laptops, tablets, some way to do email. Out in the big wide world, even the DMV is pushing people to do things online so that they don't get so crowded in their office locations. Our doctor's offices are pushing us towards MyChart. I mean, it is the way of the world. And if people want to be updated and kept in loop, they're almost having to go that way. So no excuses.
Anyways, well, thank you very much. Any?
Yeah, thanks you guys.
Yeah, I got something. Hey, Amber, did you get my voicemail yesterday about the paving next week?
I did. Thank you so much, Trevor. I appreciate that. So it's just that little driveway, the new driveway. Is that what's happening?
No, we're paving all of East Harrison there, so
Okay.
just be aware that you know, we got 3 streets we're gonna do on that same day, so if there's any delays or anything else like that, it might happen Tuesday, but we're planning on Monday getting everything wrapped up in the presidentials, okay?
Okay, that sounds great. I appreciate the notice and I've
Thank
told
you.
my neighbors.
And I just want to take a second to say thank you for you guys and your public works volunteer effort and the things that you help us on as staff. We're very grateful for that. I look at you guys as an extension of us, so to speak. And so your help and your support on these projects, your input is always appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a Red Cross blood drive right now, so.
On our blood.
Yes. If you'd like to donate blood, please.
We need a tsunami of blood.
That's for sure. So please come and join us.